Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Optimizing the Customer Life Cycle with a focus on online video services. So I'll be your presenter today, Chris Welsh, and I am Vice President of TV and Sport across EMEA for MPP Global. So I have a focus on business development in those regions, working with broadcasters, sports operators and OEMs to help them monetize content, help them develop better relationships with their customers and assist with the customer lifecycle management and user management of those consumers.
Hi, I'm John Swain. I'm responsible for data science and data product development here at MPP Global.
Thanks, John. Okay, so just a couple of boring bits before we get started with the webinar proper. So there's some controls on the little dashboard you should have in front of you. If you'd like to raise a question, you can click that raise your hand button and type a question into the little box. And from experience, I think it's best that we answer the questions at the end of today's session because it can become quite disjointed if we answer them as they go. There's going to be a couple of polls in today's question as well, which in today's webinar as well, which will pop up on your screen. So please just select from the multiple choice at the time, and we'll also share those results with you. Today's agenda will focus on a number of different areas really. We're going to start with customer lifecycle challenges. So the trends and challenges facing online video service operators in today's market. And some of the key areas of the lifecycle management that we believe are important for consideration today include leveraging audience data, so how our clients can utilize data points to create more compelling services, how they can incentivize the consumer to help with acquisition and conversion, and the sign up and profile creation of those converted users. Then the consumption and the experience. We know how difficult it is to acquire new customers, so it's really, really important to retain them while you have them. So we'll address that area in a little bit of focus. And of course, how to win back or manage churn as well against that set of users. All right, so first of all, what is customer lifecycle management? I know that everyone on the end of this webinar will probably have a different definition, but in the past it's been fairly basic. It's been getting a consumer to sign up for a service, letting them consume content and articles or whatever it is you're selling on that service, and then if the horse bolts, you try and win them back. There's very little communication during the customer lifecycle management beside some cold email communications about some new content or some new matches and so on that might be becoming available. But for me, the concept of customer lifecycle management isn't necessarily a new one, but the technology behind it is ever evolving, especially within the media industries. So this intelligence is enabling organizations to increase ARPU, drive engagement, and build a wider, more flexible and personalized strategy focused on individuals and customer segments, essentially identifying relevant touch points at various points within the customer life cycle and areas where customer can interact with the service is essential, and adopting a value exchange methodology between the service provider and the consumer itself. Some of the other challenges we see facing the industry include understanding anonymous users. So what intelligence can we gain from these users? What data can we collect from them? How to attract and convert users, sign them up, and centralize the data you do collect through anonymous data profile and of course sign up to provide that single customer view. Engagement, loyalty and flexibility of your offering, improving ARPU or customer lifecycle value. Preventing and reducing user churn, of course, a hot topic for us at the minute. Crunching big data into smaller, more digestible chunks that our operators will be able to do something with to offer more customer experience and personalization from those results. So we'll try and address these challenges throughout today's presentation, and we've defined 5 key areas of the customer life cycle. So first of all, it's the anonymous user, the unique traffic you're getting through your website. without them becoming registered or paying subscribers, for example. You don't know a lot about them. So what data points can we collect from anonymous users? How can we use that intelligently? Also registering users. So, how can you offer a pretty seamless registration and payment flow for your consumers without disrupting their experience? Loyalty rewards too. So what can you do when customers are paying, how they pay for things, what products, bundles, unbundles you offer to them? Consuming content as well. So what can we learn about the consumer as they consume more content? So behavioral intelligence, what their tastes, their interests are, and so on. And then churning as well. So there's some interesting statistics on the slide there from Broadband News and other sources. So 55% of UK broadband homes are watching OTT video, but only 30% have a paid subscription. That shows us that there's a large propensity to utilize OTT services, but there's still a bit of a challenge to get them to convert to registered or paid services. Loyalty as well is a key area, and a lot of our research supported by the market shows that consumers are interested in a la carte packages where consumers can pull, content that's relevant to them, to their tastes. If you think of the publishing industry, for example, any given print newspaper will have news, politics, travel, sport, international news, culture, whatever it may be. But an individual might only be interested in sport and politics or music and history. And if they could pull content into a pack that they create themselves, then the likelihood of them maintaining their subscription with you will be much greater because they'll have such a personalized experience. We'll address these 5 areas in more detail, one by one, throughout today's webinar. And at the end of today's session, we're going to focus on this slide again and identify mechanics that can be used to really, maximize the potential in each one of these areas. I mentioned earlier about a value exchange, which brings us on to the next slide. I think it's really important that operators understand that there is an opportunity to create a value exchange between them and their customers. So, we've seen that quite a lot in the industry. Things like if a consumer provides some engagement, let's say they complete a survey for you or they interact with your website, you might offer them an incentive, something that's based on their behavior on your site to try and convert them to a registered or a paid service. Equally, once you do convert them, it's important to develop some thresholds like time or consumption to provide loyalty rewards. So if a customer is showing you loyalty, especially in the world of millennials where they tend not to be too loyal at all, they follow the content or the best experience or what's hot at the time, it's important to offer rewards. These rewards could be, service credits for a free consumption of additional products and services. It might be discounts for cross-sell and upsell opportunities, or it might be even, it might be some access to a third-party platform that they believe is quite relevant to your tastes and interests. Also, as the consumer accesses more content and watches more videos or clicks more articles and reads more news, they're providing the operator with a lot of behavioral intelligence and behavioral data. And from that, operators must be able to offer personalized experience, recommended content, which really improves the experience for the end user. If I watch a James Bond movie and then I'm recommended, hey, did you know we have these other James Bond movies available on the site, the likelihood is I'll watch them. And if they can keep me on the site for longer, then it's obviously better for the operator and it's much more preferable for their advertising partners as well. Okay, so we're going to focus on the 5 areas we identified on the previous slide now. And the first one up today is leveraging audience data. And when we talk about leveraging audience data in this particular section, it's not necessarily the data that's provided through registration or paid services. It's more focused on the data from anonymous users and unregistered users that are visiting your website, your applications, and your services. So I'm going to pass you over to John for this particular section.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Chris. Just want to give a little bit of perspective about what that means in terms of the data science and analytics that's used. Obviously at the moment, data science, big data, big buzzwords, everyone's talking about it. And the objective of these kind of programs is to produce the kind of seamless personalization and optimized services that we all interact with every day, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Netflix, Sky TV. So just a little bit about how, from a data science perspective, that's built up. The top part of the pyramid is those personalized, seamless, optimized services, such as recommendations, suggestions, optimized packages. To be able to do that, we need to work our way up this pyramid from the raw data. So in order to produce those kind of optimizations, we need to do the data science at the layer below, which is generally prediction. So machine learning, algorithmic prediction of things like churn, relatively simple A/B testing for optimized user experience. And at that point, we can do various interactions at specific touch points. To go from there back up to the more sophisticated services, it's the way those algorithms and those touch points are combined. Below that, we need to be able to do profiling of our users. So we need to build a picture of users, and it's a gradual process of adding more and more information about the user. Lots of data is coming in from various sources, and that process it uses all kinds of big data machine learning techniques to build those profiles. But also, and importantly, the things we're going to learn about today, there's a lot of very simple things that we can do. Chris has talked about this value exchange, trading information for offers for services, that kind of thing. And we're just going to talk briefly about a problem for all this, which is the cold start problem. And that is, on day one, we know nothing about our subscriber. So there's a lot of metaphors, a lot of sayings about what about data these days. One that I do quite like is this comparison: data is the new oil. And the reason for that is it's a raw resource, and it does need a lot of it needs a lot of extraction and transformation to create usable products from it. Depending on which study you read, or who you talk to, data scientists, we spend between 70–80% of our time on this part of the process. Good products built from data rely on a few things: either a lot of data, the likes of Amazon and Google are in that position; high quality data, something that MPP typically have when data is coming from payment systems, exactly, for example, or complex statistical techniques. So unless you really are in the Google, Amazon position, the best approach really is improving the quality of the data. And the things we're going to talk about today focus on two basic approaches to that. One is digital fingerprinting, the ability to profile and understand things about anonymous users. And the other is this concept Chris already mentioned about value exchange. So how we go about the process of gradually building this profile and getting information from our users.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, so that was the first stage of the 5 we've outlined in terms of customer lifecycle management. The next one is incentivizing the consumer. So through the work that you can achieve in the first section, you start to incentivize the consumer, and if you can make that as personalized as possible, then the likelihood is you will be more successful. So at MPP Global, we're not going to talk too much about ourselves today, but we work with a lot of operators. One of the most high profile would be Now TV. So we master every offer you see in the marketplace from Now TV, whether that's low start offers, free trials, percentage discounts, cross-sell, upsell, whatever it may be. So there's lots of different offers and incentives available in the marketplace, and there's lots of different things you can do. So obviously you can do things like free trials, and you can offer voucher codes. These could be unique or generic depending on what campaign you're running. Gifting and third-party partnerships becomes quite important as well, and of course gamification. So in gamification, it's been very, very popular in the games industry for years. It's becoming more popular in the publishing industry today. So you can see things like share this article to unlock the next one, or complete this survey to get 5 articles for free or whatever it may be, or even things like creating loyalty and leaderboards and cups and trophies that you can redeem or service credits against additional services. Again, gamification is one of the best examples in the marketplace within media about how to achieve a strong value exchange proposition between operators and consumers. But if you look at offers and trials, I'll just mention a couple of good examples. The one on the screen right now is what we call box proposition. So Now TV have created a partnership with LG in that anybody that purchases an LG Smart TV will get access to some free day passes and free month passes. So there's a pre-downloaded application on the LG TV off Now TV. So it makes perfect sense for LG to add value to their box by providing some free services. Equally, it makes a hell of a lot of sense for Now TV because all of these new LG customers are instantly accessing their service and getting to try before they buy. And so that's a mutually beneficial partnership. And well, I can't talk about the commercial relationship behind that, but one of the biggest principles, it's a data exchange. So the data that LG collects, they provide back to Now TV and vice versa. Other popular examples would be things like Now TV and Shell, where all the Shell filling stations up and down the country had some free month passes sitting on the desk as you pay for your fuel or you buy your cigarettes or whatever it is you're doing. So they offered an obligation-free trial. And when we talk about an obligation-free trial, it's providing 30 days free access to the service, but asking the consumer in return to provide their payment details. So, hey, we won't charge you for 30 days. You can use our self-care platform to cancel at any one time. And then the idea is after 30 days, they'll automatically trip into payments. And I can say that there was almost 70% of those particular those particular people that redeemed that offer had become paying subscribers when we ran the report 3 months later. So that's a huge success. But if you look at that exact same offer really without collecting payment information, so I was talking to a Nordic operator quite recently where they offered a no obligation free trial. So hey, access the service for free for 30 days. You don't even need to pay. You don't even need to provide your payment details. And they only managed to achieve around 20% conversion. So collecting the payment information on day one, when the operator is holding all of the cards, the power, they're the one that are going to provide you as a consumer with a free service for 30 days. And at that point, we believe it's the best opportunity for the operator to collect payment details. Other examples, we can mention things like, low start offers, sign up today and get access to the service for 3 months for the price of a 50% discount. Or an example we've seen with one of our clients, DMG Media, the Daily Mail, where they provided, they done a deal with P&O Ferries. So everyone that was going on a cruise got access to their digital pack in the week leading up to the cruise, and then while they were a captured audience on the cruise for 2 weeks, they got access to the Daily Mail news. So that was the only way they could really access news on the local network. And then that enabled Daily Mail to target those users that have been accessing their platform for 3 weeks for free to become paying subscribers. Another try before you buy approach that worked incredibly well for them. There are so many different types of offers out there in the marketplace today. I think operators should adopt an A/B testing methodology wherever possible, try out new offers, new voucher codes, new incentives, and just see how they fare. But I think it is really important to identify some strategic partners where you can develop some mutually beneficial relationships. Again, another example in that respect would be Spotify and Telegraph. Telegraph identified that something like 30% of everybody that had liked them on Facebook also had liked Spotify. So they done a deal with Spotify. So if you bought their Ultimate Gold pack, you got access to the Spotify platform for free too. And also they done a single sign-on between Spotify and Telegraph, so you could carry your Telegraph credentials straight into Spotify and access the service without the obligation of re-registering. Okay, moving on to the next section, which is sign up and profile creation. All right, so we believe that solid identity and access management really is the cornerstone of good customer relationship management. It underpins everything else that operators are trying to achieve in that area. So if you nail this particular component, then the rest of the life cycle management becomes much, much easier. And if we look at some of the things that consumers want from this, so, consumers, they want simple, quick and easy registration processes and sign-up processes. They want a process that's localized to them, not just a sign-up process, but a service, of course. So it's really, really important that if you're offering an international service, that in, say, Asia, you're offering local payment types, you're offering local languages, and you're offering local currencies. I can reference a sports client I was talking to quite recently that outside of the UK and the US, so Western territories, the highest traffic they had through their site was in Turkey, but they had real difficulties trying to convert their Turkish audience to paid and registered services. But, they were offering it in Western currencies and Western languages and weren't really offering any localized payments either. When they made that change, they seen 150% roughly increase in conversion. So I know it's a bit cheesy, but to think globally, you really, really have to think locally first. So when you're building out your global expansion, think about localized and internationalized currencies, languages, and of course, payment methods as well. Flexible payment types and methods. In today's disruptive market, you can see that there's many different business models out there and no one is right unless, of course, you don't understand your audience. But it's really important to offer the client, the end user some control in this respect so they can build products, packages and services that suit their specific needs. And of course, user experience is incredibly important. We know that millennials aren't particularly loyal. If they have a bad experience with streaming or buffering or anything like that, they'll simply jump somewhere else and can get to another service with a couple of clicks. So for operators to deliver what the customer wants, they need to, find an easy to integrate and customize a solution, something that's quite dynamic and flexible. They need to adhere to all the standards and compliance in terms of payment compliance, data management compliance, and all the regulations in that area. They need to be able to pull through new products and offers very easily, be able to rearrange these products with a nice and easy to use product CMS. And also it has to be white labeled and fully branded. I see too many services in the marketplace today where I choose to select a pack that I want to purchase or a product, and then I'm redirected to another site providing a poor experience. Plus, as a consumer, I don't know who this other company is. I don't necessarily trust them, and you can see quite a lot of basket drop-offs at that point if it isn't a seamless user experience. Some payment and registration forms that resonate perfectly with their existing website and skins. This really is a very important consideration. Also with identity management, you're obviously collecting new information about that, so you can load your CRM with information about where they live and who they are, but also you have to try and centralize the other data we've already talked about. So that anonymous and unregistered data you're collecting on the front end, you need to centralize that, the digital fingerprint, against registered users and pair those up. And if your audience, if you offer a social sign-on service, for example, which is very popular with the younger audiences, it's quick, easy, you don't need to remember lots of different passwords and so on, then it provides operators with the ability to collect lots of social and personal information about that user. So, what other pages have they liked on Facebook? What do their friends like? Have they shared any movies? Have they typed in that they like particular movies? What tastes can we collect? Do they have any favorite actors they've talked about? So there's loads of different information you can collect, and it's all about that progressive profiling. So over the fullness of time, you'll have a consumption data, you'll have anonymous data, you'll have the fingerprint, you'll have CRM data, payment data, social data. It's really trying to take the consumer through as many of those hurdles as possible and then create that single rich profile of users, subsets of users, and your wider audience in a one centralized platform. Single sign-on authentication across multiple screens, channels, platforms and devices is expected. Millennials absolutely expect this now, and once you authenticate, or once you create a a subscription against a certain service, you want to be able to authenticate against these other devices without any issues. So device management and controls becomes really popular in that respect too. Okay, moving on to consumption. By the way, it would be about another 10 or 12 minutes, I think, to conclude this presentation. So thanks for sticking with us. So consumption and experience. This is an area where I think is, there's huge improvements over the last couple of years with, recommendations of content, how to explore and discover new content on Spotify, on Netflix and other platforms and channels. But today's consumers are tech savvy. They want immersive, uninterrupted viewing. They want content that's specific to their taste. They want a personalized and recommended experience. They want to be able to self-care their own account. They want a secure and slick user experience, and they want to be able to access content across any screen. And then package flexibility and pricing is really important too. There's a little screen cam on the screen now where you can see one of our clients, The Times, how they sign up users. So instead of asking them to pick a pack, they're asking them to complete some multiple choice options. And then they're running some algorithms and business logic and rules in the background that is intelligently going to recommend a product that's specific to that user's tastes. So there you can see they're learning from all of these, all of the data points they've collected, and they can offer up a pack. And the likelihood then is that that consumer will believe and understand that that pack is relevant to their tastes and interests, and their propensity to subscribe is much greater. So, just a bit conscious of time today, but we have talked about this in terms of the consumption models and the packages available and how you deliver those. So, sports operators can think about things like match passes, pre-season passes, tournament passes. We've seen that with our client Now TV in their sports package. They started out with just day passes, and quickly they realized that the economies of scale didn't really work for sports fans that wanted to access a full cricket tournament, for example, running over 5 days, or a tennis tournament or something like that. So it is important to offer flexible time-lapsed subscriptions, but equally bundling content, unbundling content, offering membership schemes, tiered packages, and across a multiple of models is very important. So, SVOD's popular with the likes of Now TV and Netflix and so on. We see TVOD popular, but hybrid approaches can work too. So Amazon, they offer rentals, they offer electronic sell-through, they offer TVOD, SVOD, the whole lot in a single service. So it's really about finding a model that you believe will work for your own target audience. Moving on to the last section before we wrap things up, and it's going to focus on predicting churn, winning back, protecting revenues, etc. So with churn management, we believe there's 3 key pillars. The first one is a voluntary churn, and involuntary churn, and predictive churn. So with voluntary churn, this is a consumer that chooses to cancel your service. So there is a lot of different things you can do in this respect, and we'll have a look at a quick example in a minute. But you could offer a fully automated service where, are you sure you want to cancel? We've got this content coming, you might like this, etc. And there's involuntary churn as well. So things like their credit cards expiring, the bank didn't process their payment, reasons that they've been out on a Saturday night, they've lost their bank card and they're going to miss their next payment. So at MPP Global, we have a number of mechanics that we use in this area. So we provide grace periods while we continue to run our retry rules schema. We also have an integration with the big schemers, Visa and MasterCard, where they automatically pass down new payment card information to us without having to touch the consumer, and we can update our payment records. So we're getting that information ahead of time. And there's also things like suppression windows that we can run with certain requiring banks to get the maximum throughput of payments against a particular subscription. With predictive churn, I'll just let John quickly summarize that, but it's one of the most interesting product developments for us over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, what we found when we started running a predictive churn algorithm was the combination of all these things we've just talked about is well beyond our human ability to spot patterns and understand exactly what's going on. Once you've done the obvious things like preventing card expiry, and system problems, you're left with a combination of factors that can drive churn. And there's some obvious examples where it's quite understandable. So the types of payment card, expiry dates, might be a trigger for churn. Other things such as the type of subscription the user signed up on, was it a free trial, etc., also have an influence on whether the person's going to churn. There are lots of plausible theories about which the causes of churn. If you get 10 people together in a room to discuss this problem, you'll get 10 plausible theories of what to go next. What you discover when you run machine learning algorithms or what you get from machine learning algorithms is much higher precision. So beyond a certain level, you're just guessing. And running algorithms will give you a much higher precision in predicting that churn.
Yeah, and then by predicting churn as well as to a user level, so it gives operators the chance to engage, interact with the high risk churn, the high risk churn subscribers, where they can offer, hey, we haven't seen you log in for 2 months, here have the next month on us, and similar mechanics then, and leveraging offers, incentives again to retain those customers. So based on this, some of the top tips we have for retaining customers include, well, you got to think about individuals really. You use predictive churn. That's one of the most market leading ways of predicting revenue right now. Card updater services with Visa and MasterCard. One of the biggest churn factors in the marketplace today is people expiring cards, lost bank cards, and so on. So if you can get that integration there, that will provide you with so much more revenue protection against the subscribers. You've got to interact and engage with these consumers that you've managed to sign up. So identifying certain touch points within the cycle that makes sense to interact, engage, offer new packages, cross-sell, upsell, provide discounts, loyalty rewards, all of the things we've discussed today. Being able to offer package variation, so products that enable clients to pick and choose what they want, to their own taste, their own interests, their own content desires, and having a clear content offering and personalized experiences once you're on the platform is essential too. So recommendations and similar personalized experiences. The don'ts are quite obvious. I think, don't assume that one size fits all. You can't use big broad strokes when you're dealing with millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people, as a lot of these OTT operators are. Don't rely just on registration data. What data can you collect from the video player? What data can you collect from consumption behaviors? What data can you collect from anonymous users? And what data can you collect from exiting subscribers? Don't target with generic offers. Again, that falls into the same sort of bracket. You got to create tailored and specific offers to certain subsets of your audience, and you really need to start looking at your data. Big data has been a buzzword for a couple of years now, but I think if people are getting their heads around it and really able to create these digestible chunks of data, then they can target with more intelligence to subsets of users and smaller groups of users. Okay, so we're almost finished now. We're moving on to the last slide before wrapping up and asking you another quick poll question. But you'll remember this slide from the start of today's session. So anonymous, registering, paying, consuming, and churning, those were the 5 areas within customer lifecycle management that we identified earlier. And we're just going to focus on those a little bit more before we quickly tell you how MPP Global works in these areas. So intelligence and decisioning, that's what John talked about earlier in the session. So what data can we collect? What behavioral intelligence can we collect from these anonymous users? So creating a digital fingerprint against, multiple data sets, things like what browser they're using, what device they're using, what geolocation, what articles are they clicking, what videos are they interested in, what content taste do they have, and that will enable you to then to try and convert those users through acquisition and conversion. So being able to promote and incentivize users, offer flexible campaign setups, corporate partnerships, referrals, advantages in that particular area. Then with identity and CRM, so we believe is the cornerstone of good CRM is identity management. So trying to create that single view of a customer across a multitude of customers, being able to progressively profile these users, adding extra data and tagging and product information and purchase history and order history and so on against this user over the fullness of time. So the end goal really is rich user profiling that you can use to target them with cross-sell and upsell opportunities. Then we talk about billing the user, so flexible subscription and billing models, flexible product and pricing management, offering them one-click transactions is incredibly powerful. So if you're working with a tier 1 PCI level compliant payment operator like ourselves, it enables you to transmit, process, but crucially store payment data. And once you have a single identity linked to a single payment account, much like Apple do with iTunes, then you have a unique ability to offer one-click transactions against, let's just say you're a sports operator, you can do a one-click transaction for a match pass or one-click transaction for a tournament pass, or you have some premium content that you want to retail with one click. One click, it really is the most powerful mechanic you can have in revenue and billing. Retention recovery. So the module we have is called retention recovery that looks at lots of different churn management. So the voluntary churn where subscribers choose to cancel. Involuntary churn, things like payment breakage, credit card expired, lost and stolen, those sorts of things. So being able to offer grace periods where you keep an entitlement open, where you try and retry schemas to collect payments. Predictive churn using machine learning, so you can predict to a user level who might churn in the following calendar month. So if you look at those five key areas in the customer life cycle, you understand what we're talking here about with intelligence and decision and anonymous data, acquiring and converting users to paid and registered services, creating identities, linking single payment accounts to those, and then all of the clever stuff we can do with retention recovery, then you have a real good chance of developing and optimizing a more comprehensive customer lifecycle management process within your business. And the last slide, really, the last little bit before we go to a poll, is that this is the 6 core modules within the eSuite platform. So MPP Global have the only fully integrated cloud-based identity management, CRM and e-commerce platform working in the media space today for TV operators, broadcasters, sports operators, publishers, and so on. And those 6 modules lend themselves perfectly to the customer life cycle, and everything's centralized within eSuite HQ, your entire eSuite implementation. We'd obviously like an opportunity to talk to you guys individually, anyone that has some challenges or issues that they're facing with customer lifecycle management. We'd love to talk to you about how MPP Global can help you achieve your goals in this area and how these products and services and modules relate to those particular pain points and the opportunities you're trying to achieve. That's all, folks, as they say in Looney Tunes or whatever it is. But, you know, there's only so much we can get into in 30, 40 minutes here. We've had to keep it quite high level. But myself or John would be delighted to engage with you to discuss, you know, the challenges, the opportunities, the goals, the roadmap, things you'd like to achieve over the next 12 months in this particular area or any other areas of direct-to-consumer models and monetization. Please do connect with us on some of our other profiles. We have our websites, mppglobal.com. Twitter, you can get us at MPP Global, MPP Global in LinkedIn as well, where we're sharing daily insights and content with our subscribers and our audience. So lastly, just thank you very much for attending today's session. We do hope that we'll hear from you again, and you will all get a copy of today's webinar and the poll results with some other information in due course. So thank you very much for attending. We're closing down and we'd like to catch up with you again soon.